Hi everyone. I want to talk about anxiety today. Obviously it's an emotion that many of us feel from time to time. It's a common emotion, but for those of us for whom it's becoming excessive, it kind of controls our thoughts and our feelings on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you know that can really lead us to behaving in ways that are less than helpful for our relationships and that can even be harmful toward our partner. So we're asking the question today, how can we break anxiety's grip on us and really take back control of our emotions and our thoughts? My name is Rosie Jewell. I'm with the Ananias Foundation. I'm very happy to have you with me today in this beautiful park, taking a walk with me, and I'm ready when you are. So let's get started.
If you want to stop causing harm in your relationships, you're on the right path. This is Journey of Change, a video series to help you become the safe, loving partner you are meant to be.
Now, as I said, anxiety is a common emotion. We all know what it means. It's that kind of rush of adrenaline that you get before a driving test or maybe before a first date. Normal situations where you feel a little bit nervous. I know I used to get really anxious before my exams at school, and I think it actually used to help me do better. It certainly made me write faster. But for some of us, anxiety can become something that is excessive, that's out of control, that really affects our day-to-day lives and kind of weighs on us every minute of every day. If you have feelings of always being on edge, always feeling tense, maybe you've got lots of kind of nervous tics. I know I jiggle my leg all the time. Some of us bite our nails. If you have trouble sleeping, if you have regular panic attacks, these are all signs that you have what doctors would call an anxiety disorder. If you've ever had anxiety like this, and I think that I have at certain points in my life, you'll know that it is really one of those big emotions. At the Ananias Foundation, we talk a lot about fear, hurt, and sadness as being big emotions that really drive some of our least constructive reactions. And I think anxiety is like the little brother to those three big ones. It can have a similar effect on us. We just feel like we have to do something to make it stop. Anything, no matter what it is, we just need to make the anxiety go away. Now, obviously, not all anxiety leads to abuse. That's clearly not true. But in those cases where it's making us behave in less than helpful ways or harmful ways, that's the kind of anxiety that is driving that. Now, I want you to just take a second to think about what you're like when you're anxious. It's probably not you at your best. Some of us become very irritable, very withdrawn, very snappy. We tell our partners to leave us alone and go away. Others of us become very needy, very clingy, kind of overwhelming our partner with requests for support and for attention, and disrespecting their boundaries and their needs in the process. And then there's those of us who kind of flip-flop between the two. Whatever it is, I'm sure you can imagine, it's not difficult to imagine, that it's just as unpleasant for our partner as it is for us. They're likely to start feeling very stressed and anxious themselves. They might feel resentful of our neediness. They might feel like we're disrespecting them. They may even become quite intimidated by our sharp changes in mood. In the worst cases of anxiety, I've heard of situations where people have been lashing out at their partners, personal attacks, insults, threats, things that really cross that line into emotional abuse. We've also heard of situations where people have become very controlling. This is a common reaction to anxiety, but if we're getting to that point where we're controlling what our partner says or does in a misplaced attempt to allay our own fears and our own worries, try and manage our own emotions by controlling the people and the situation around us, that is crossing a line into behavior that is really quite harmful for our partner. It can have serious effects on their self-esteem, on their sense of autonomy. None of these things are helpful for a healthy relationship, and they can even have lasting emotional, mental effects on our partner as well. So how do we break anxiety's grip? How do we start to take back control of our emotions and our thoughts, and thereby our actions and how we behave around our partner? It might seem like a really impossible task, and you don't know where to begin when it comes to identifying where your anxiety is coming from. So I want to give you two very simple tips. In fact, it's one tip, really. Ask yourself, two questions: why and what if. They're easy to remember because it's any toddler's favorite two questions. So let me give you a couple of examples. I had a good friend called Molly who was buying her first house with her husband Colin. Meant to be this really momentous and exciting step for them both. But Molly was finding that her anxiety was really getting the better of her. She was feeling so stressed about the move and had such a kind of short tether that she was really taking it out on Colin. So I asked her, why are you finding this move so anxiety inducing? And she said, well, I feel like if me and Colin mess up even one tiny thing, if we miss a single call from the realtor, if we forget a single form, the whole thing will fall through and we won't get this house. And I asked her, what if you don't get the house? And she said, it will mean that I lose out on my dream home, something that I have wanted since I was a child. So you can guess where this is going. I then asked, why do you want this dream home so badly? And she told me, well, when I was a child, my parents were divorced. I was kind of shunted from pillar to post, lived with my dad, then lived with my mum. There were financial issues. We were being evicted quite often. And so I just never felt stable. I never felt secure. And so I, for a long time, have just wanted to buy a house and feel like I have roots. And you can see how quickly, just by asking these two questions, we've gotten down to the root of the matter, which is in Molly's childhood, in her feeling of not feeling safe, not feeling secure, not feeling in control of her life. Here's another example. I knew of this guy called Ted who outwardly very successful, very, outgoing person, but inside actually really suffered from quite crippling social anxiety. And it got to the point where he was not only worried about what people thought of him, he was worried about what they thought of his partner as an extension of him. He was so anxious about certain social interactions that he would tell his partner, Peter, what he could and couldn't say, what he could and couldn't wear. He'd even make him stay at home if he was feeling kind of too anxious about the situation. So hopefully you can tell that this is definitely a form of controlling behavior. So when Ted asked himself, why am I feeling so anxious about this party? He realized the answer was, well, I'm worried that people think that Peter's a boring dork and that I'm a boring dork and that they're going to judge me for going out with a boring dork and they're going to judge me for being one. And then he asked himself, what if I am a boring dork? The answer to that is, no one likes a boring dork. Newsflash, it would confirm that nobody likes me, that I'm not a likable person. Now, you can see how just asking these two questions, we get both in Molly and Ted's cases to these core issues of not feeling safe and not feeling likable or lovable. And when we have these fears inside of us, it's a sign that one of those needs was not met in our past. In Molly's case, it was her childhood, moving around a lot, feeling a lot of insecurity as a child. In Ted's case, it could have been abandonment issues. Maybe he had very critical parents. Maybe he was bullied in school. It could have been any one of those things that led him to believe that he's not a likable person, or at least fear that he may not be. Now, all of us want to feel safe and in control of our lives. We all want to feel loved and liked by other people, feel accepted. That's something that all of us have in common. However, it's also true for all of us that we don't get to feel that way all of the time. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you meet someone that just doesn't like you. They just don't take a shine to you, they treat you badly, they bully you, whatever it is, and that's a fact of life. And equally, sometimes we do find ourselves in situations where we're out of control, we're out of our depth. We just, maybe the house does fall through for Molly, or maybe we get into a car accident, and dealing with, life's ups and downs, that's something that we all have to do. The truth is that in all of these situations, we're not in control. We're in control of ourselves and nothing else. So the best course of action is to always turn inward. We're not going to have any success and any luck trying to force the issue and control the situation, the circumstances, or the people around us. We have to learn to turn inwards and identify the root cause of our anxiety. Learn to recognize what your warning signs are that you're becoming anxious. They're quite similar to the signs that we're becoming angry as well. For me, if my leg starts jiggling, if I start to notice my heart rate going up, If I'm being kind of snappy with my partner, that's a sign that I'm becoming anxious and that I need to take a moment to collect myself, take a deep breath, maybe take a walk outside, and really, soothe myself rather than making it my partner's problem. Beliefs like I must be in control all of the time, or I must be likable, I must make everyone like me. These are distorted beliefs. They're things that are just never going to lead us to a happy or constructive outcome because they're impossible. We cannot be in control all of the time. We can't be liked by everybody. And we'll still be okay. It doesn't mean that we're not likable or lovable. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be safe and secure generally in life. So practice kind of challenging those beliefs. You can also practice challenging those distorted thoughts that are setting off your anxiety. Molly assuming that the house is going to fall through and that she's going to lose her dream home is an assumption. It's not a fact. Ted's, believing that everyone thinks he's a boring dork and that his partner is a boring dork is an assumption. It's not a fact. These are examples of what we call distorted thinking. They are things like catastrophizing, generalizing, seeing things as black and white. And we have to practice recognizing that these are distortions. They're often a lot worse than reality, or, sometimes completely unrelated to the reality that we're actually in. And even if the house does fall through for Molly, it doesn't mean she's going to end up homeless. It doesn't mean that she's not safe. She still has a deposit ready to go. There's other houses on the market. She needs to practice not being so attached to one particular outcome and recognizing that she's still going to be okay, even if what she thinks is her worst fear is realized. So try, writing down this why, what if technique and keeping hold of your answers. Because when we start to do that, it really helps us just clarify things, helps us spot patterns in our thoughts. And it's also just a great way to dump our anxiety and externalize it. If you've seen the Harry Potter movies, there's a thing called a pensieve where Dumbledore kind of drains out troubling memories. I believe it's just any memory actually, but he puts them in this basin of liquid, and you can see that a weight is just lifted off of his shoulders every time he does that. And I find personally that writing in my journal does a similar thing. I can just dump my anxiety on the page, close the book, and those things are still there, but I've externalized them, and it just allows me to kind of regain control over my emotions and my thoughts. So, as I said at the start, anxiety is a normal emotion that all of us feel from time to time, and it can be productive. I gave the example at the start about my exams. In Molly's case, a little bit of anxiety might be what reminds her to call the realtor before she goes out. Or in Ted's case, it might remind him to look up some icebreakers before a party or something like that. But if our anxiety is starting to impact our behavior towards our partner, if it's making us act out in unhealthy, unhelpful, or even downright destructive ways in our relationship, that's a sign that we need to dig deeper and understand those core hurts and those fears that are driving our anxiety and practice healing from them and challenging those fears. I'm not going to pretend that I have a ton of life experience. I'm not that old yet. But one of the things that I have learned over the last couple of years as I've been working on managing my own anxiety is that there's nothing else in life that we can control outside of ourselves. We can't control people, we can't control the events and the things that happen to us, and that's okay. If we have good management over our emotions and our thoughts, not all of the time, sometimes we mess up, but most of the time, if we have good self-control, the rest tends to work itself out and things are okay in the end. It's been such a pleasure walking with you today. I'm really glad that you joined me. I hope you found this useful, or at least that it kind of set off some questions and some thoughts for you that will lead you to better understanding your anxiety and managing it in a healthier way. If you have any comments or questions, please let us know in the comment section below. And if you have any ideas for videos that you'd like us to do, subjects that you'd like us to cover, we would love to hear them. So again, let us know in the comments or shoot us an email. Until next time, my name is Rosie Jewell. I'm with the Anne Nice Foundation, and it has been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm honoured to be on this journey of change with you, and I hope I've helped you in some way. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to hit the like button, share this with others who might find it helpful, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. For more resources, head to our website, ananiasfoundation.org. Until next time, take care, and remember, change is possible.